On today's episode of Clipped and Loaded, we bring you all the best and most heated moments from the explosive debate on Piers Morgan Uncensored. From fiery clashes over trans athletes in women's sports.
Show me one male father who's fighting in the courts to transition their son to a girl.
To controversial takes on feminism.
Eat
Seriously?
another donut, lady.
Traditional gender roles and declining birth rates. It's a no-holds-barred showdown.
Perfect.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's
I
crazy.
do live and let live.
Till it comes to the transgenders.
I don't care if you're
So, let's get straight into it. In this segment, Stacia Underwood, a trans rights advocate, accuses Piers Morgan of being transphobic. She argues that the intense focus on trans athletes is ultimately about the eradication of trans people from society. Piers immediately challenges this accusation, calling it the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and demanding evidence of anything transphobic he has ever said.
Transphobic. I am fully supportive of trans people's rights to lead the same life as the rest of us. However, and it's a big however, when it erodes, when the battle for trans rights to fairness, equality in particular, but also safety, when that erodes clearly women's rights to fairness and equality and safety, I have a big problem with that. And no place is this more glaring than in the sporting arena, where you see time and again now biological men who identify as trans, who were pretty unsuccessful competing against other biological men, and suddenly they're winning against women or taking Olympic places from women, etc., etc. And I think the UN came up with nearly 900. I mean, John Oliver tried to ridicule this, but nearly 900 medals around the world, I think, in the last year went to trans athletes in women's sport. This cannot be right. It's not fair. It's not equal. As we saw in the Paris Olympics, in the boxing ring, where you had boxers competing who were banned from the World Championships because they had reportedly male chromosomes, and you had women boxers quitting after 40 seconds because they'd never been hit so hard, genuinely fearing they might get killed in the ring. When it comes to this, we are now reaching, to me, not just an unfair and unequal place in this debate, but a dangerous place in this debate. What do you say to that?
I think it's difficult. I think that there's a lot of emphasis being put on trans people in sports specifically. I made it very clear, like, I am not here to spit facts or spew anything in terms of like statistics or anything like that. I have my lived experience as a trans person. I feel that there's so much attention being put on to this specific subject because what you guys really want underlying is the eradication of trans people and them to not be involved in any system.
No, you see there, look, but Stacia,
that is the dumbest argument I've ever heard in my life.
Right, it's ludicrous. Where have you got that from?
What a bad
Where is
representation
anything
of a
I have
trans
ever
person
said?
to speak out for others.
I'm more so referring to
honestly.
I have seen certain things that you've said in other interviews, Piers, with like my friend Blossom and other trans individuals.
Yeah.
I just feel that the emphasis that is being put
And what was
on
transphobic? What have I ever said that could be remotely construed as transphobic or trans-hating or wanting to get rid of trans people? Ever. I challenge you right now. Tell me.
I haven't really directed that at you just from sitting here. I more so am just here to say that I feel that the issue that's being pressed is because it's a...
You just directed it at him. What are you talking? You directed it at him.
I think that the issue that is being put on trans athletes is a way to eradicate trans people.
But this is, with respect, this
Piers,
is
can I interject for a moment?
In the 1960s and 70s, when feminists that came before me set up women's shelters, rape crisis centres, hospital wards, prison wings for women, recognising that some men, not all, but a sizable minority, are a threat to women because sexual violence and harassment is a threat, We weren't told by men, not all of them were pleased, but largely they understood. We weren't told by men, you're trying to erase and eradicate men. The vast majority of men understood why we needed to do this. All we're doing is saying men, and you can call them trans women if you like, but men have no place in women's prisons, domestic violence shelters, and sports.
Well, wait a second. Hang on.
Okay, Emily, you wanted to...
I just think it's so infuriating because ultimately, I know many trans people, and I've spoken to them about, playing in women's sports, etc. And the biggest issue they face is that they just want to be accepted. Now, if I was a trans woman and I just wanted to be accepted, I'm going to do the exact opposite of what you're doing. You want to paint all of these labels on you. You want to play identity politics. You want to play the victim, but you want it to be treated as if you're any superior. That's not equality. You receiving special treatment that does not make you equal but makes you superior to others is not looking to be included. It's actually making people detest your cause. It's making people think that you are a moron. And the way that you're trying to represent the trans community as a whole by just denying that there's a threat and being delusional about it is not helping the trans people. You're making people look at you from the outside and say, wow, they are out of touch with reality.
I think that the verbiage that you use in this statement is very clear on where you stand on trans issues. I'm going to go back to my original point. You guys trying to take out trans people from sports is a way to eradicate trans people from public.
But we're not.
But
we're trying to eradicate lunatics like yourself.
Stasia, nobody has said that. And this is what happens, if you don't mind me saying, what happens, the way that trans activists let themselves down, in my opinion, and you can respond to this, is that you try and shut down perfectly legitimate, in fact, urgently important debate by saying that anyone who dares to question this is transphobic and wants to get rid of trans people. I don't think anyone so far on this panel has said they want to get rid of trans people or anything like it. And yet you keep saying you people all want to get rid of trans people. Why do you believe that? Where have you got that from? You cite my interviews with some of your friends, but where have I said anything remotely that could be construed as transphobic? I don't get it.
I think the verbiage that was being used, it's very clear you guys stand on all trans issues.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
So what is the solution for the trans people that are playing sports? What's the solution for them? We're just supposed to kick them out all entirely?
Let me give you the solution. Let me give you the solution. The solution's very straightforward. Almost all of them competed against biological men like themselves before, but they did it far less successfully. So you either go back, trans women athletes either compete against their biological sex, or you create an entirely new category for trans athletes. What you don't do is allow them to destroy the integrity of women's sport, which is what is happening. So it's very straightforward how you solve this. I don't want trans people to be banned from playing sport. I just want them to be banned like I did with the dopers when they were cheating in sport. I want them to be banned from utilizing an unfair advantage. It's simple as that.
I think.
Can I ask her a question? Would you think it's fair?
Show me one male father who's fighting in the courts to transition their son to a girl.
Actually,
Nowhere.
I made a
That's a reach.
podcast series
I see men on
about this.
TikTok that are diseased.
I interviewed quite a few fathers that are pushing for this.
In this segment, Andrew Wilson, host of The Crucible, makes a bold and confrontational entrance into the debate, immediately positioning himself against the entire panel. He criticizes everyone involved, claiming they are fundamentally wrong and accusing them of hypocrisy and inconsistency.
So far, highlights the way this debate has been framed now for years, which is that any attempt to question what is obviously grotesquely unfair and unequal and indeed unsafe is branded transphobic, even when there's no evidence to suggest that the people saying it are transphobic.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, basically everybody in this panel is wrong. So to start with, this person says, well, you know, the thing is you just want to erase transgender people altogether, Pierce, and then says, I wasn't saying that, Pierce. I wasn't saying that you want to erase trans people, not you specifically, when clearly that's what you were saying. At least get behind the statements that you're making. The TERF starts out by saying, well, I've been here reinforcing women's rights this entire time, right? And then the TERF says, right on top of that, well, but, you know, poker's very misogynistic. She can't wait to dunk on men. Very first thing she does is dunk on men in order to somehow elevate women, right? You're all insane. The truth is that the only reason that this happens to begin with is because women vote for it. They vote for it. They vote blue. They vote left. They vote in the same politicians who get behind all of this stuff. You're the deciding vote, right? And you have empowered women to do that as much as possible for the political process to do that. All of you are responsible for this. Every last one of you.
Really glad that you're so perfect.
Emily as well?
Trump.
Yeah.
Leave me out of this one. I'm good.
Well, we'll see.
Well, not just what Andrew kept saying, all of you. Do you include Emily, Andrew, or not?
Well, I just assumed it. I just assumed it. But this is the truth. The truth is we begin with these crazy ideas, right? Under patriarchal rule, under men, this would never have happened, right? If you look at how men vote, they vote against this nonsense. And it's fathers who are on the front lines against it. It's women who are trying to transition the children, not men. Give me a case example of where male fathers are trying to transition their kids. It doesn't exist. It's a female-only phenomenon. Literally a female-only phenomenon.
That is insane.
Yeah, show me one. Show me one male father who's fighting in the courts to transition their son to a girl.
Actually,
Nowhere.
I made a
That's a
podcast
reach.
series
I see men on
about this.
TikTok that are diseased.
I interviewed quite a few fathers that are pushing for this. But the point is that this is something that benefits men, and it's men that are the ones that are saying they're women. They are all of a sudden the oppressed, and feminists like me are the oppressor, and that they're too weak and pathetic to fight and play against other men. And what do? They come and beat up on women.
Do you vote left, ma'am?
I don't know what vote left means.
Do you vote for the left-wing party of your nation?
Do you vote for Democrats?
Do you vote for what would be considered the Democrats of your nation?
No, I wouldn't have voted for the Democrats. I would not have voted for the disgrace of that party. And I also wouldn't have voted for Trump. But the point is,
if we look, hang on, let me finish with a follow-up. Very quickly.
We live in a different context.
What I'm saying to you is this: it's very simple. If you look at the voting patterns of women in both the UK and the United States, they're usually the deciding vote when it comes to degeneracy. That includes it includes on the trans issue. So here you are. It's the very thing that you push for empowerment of women that is now causing your very problem. You have to now convince women. Men are already there. Men have already said, nope, we don't want this. We never wanted it.
That are claiming
it's garbage.
To be women.
Yeah, apart from the women who are claiming to be men, which now it's almost equalized. You remember that part? Right? This phenomenon, though, is categorically rejected by men and reinforced by women. And TERFs like you did everything that you could possibly do in order to push that. You did everything you could do to push that. And now you get to reap the whirlwind. So I don't care if women in their sports teams are getting their teeth kicked in. I don't care. Reap what you sow. As you sow, so shall you reap. And you get exactly what you deserve.
You seem like a lovely person.
I'm sorry that you have to deal with the consequences of your own actions.
I mean, do you know how insecure and pathetic you sound? You can't take you seriously.
Eat another donut, lady.
I'll just finish. I get that you...
In this explosive segment, Andrew Wilson takes aim at modern feminism, claiming it has distorted traditional gender roles and led to societal decline. He bluntly states that women should stay home and have kids, arguing that prioritizing careers over motherhood is a major problem. This stance provokes a strong backlash from panelists Julie Bindel and Emily Austin, who reject the notion that women's primary role is domestic. Tensions spike as they react to clips of other feminists discussing gender roles and the falling birth rate, with Andrew insisting that the erosion of traditional values is at the heart of today's social issues.
Because Andrew made a lot of news on social media with his debate with Tommy Lahren last week after accusing her of being a covert feminists. Let's remind people of that clip which went viral.
Most men are born to be protectors and providers. I can't imagine my dad saying, you know what, to my mom, you know what, I'm not going to be a protector and a provider unless you do this. That's not how real men operate. Real men are protectors and providers, and they marry women who hopefully
great.
have
A
some
woman telling
virtue,
us what
but
real
also
men
bring a
are
lot
again.
to the
Great.
table as well, that are great mothers, great wives, caretakers of the home. There's nothing wrong with being a traditional wife and mother.
So, Emily, where do you sit? Are you a covert feminist like Tommy? Did you agree with Andrew's assessment?
I'm not a covert feminist. I am very outwardly, the word feminism has been hijacked by like the woke left, who uses it as an excuse for psychotic women and liberals to scream on the streets, we want equal rights when we have equal rights. I'm more so an empowered woman who encourages other women to, be independent, work hard, chase your dreams. And that doesn't come at the expense of being feminine. It doesn't come at the expense of, now as a feminist, you need to eradicate all men. I don't think everything is so black or white. Listening to that debate, they spoke a bit about gender roles, and here's my take on that. If you're gonna have gender role expectations for your man, that's a personal choice. Emily Austin has high expectations of her man. He has to be working hard. He should be successful. He should, pay attention to how I feel. Like, there should be certain gender roles. He has to provide for the family, not solely, but he should be providing for his family. These are gender roles. As a woman, I learned how to cook. I know how to clean. My grandmother always tells me, my mother tells me, Emily, you're going to be a good wife. You're going to be loyal. You're going to be supportive. You're going to act like a lady. Now, there's many women who don't want to play into the gender roles, which is fine, but then don't expect your man to go out and become masculine. I think it's equal. Like, set the expectation and then date people who meet your expectation. But in terms of covert feminism, first of all, it's such a silly term. Either you support women or you don't. And I'm not talking about the trans argument right now.
Not only is it not a silly term, it is true that most of the political pundit women on the right are covert feminists. And I'll just ask you the same exact question I asked Tommy.
Because the word feminism got
let me finish the question. Let me finish the question. No, I'm talking about all the way back to first wave feminism. Okay, you are feminists, and I'll explain by asking you the same question. If it is men's duty in society to procure, refine, protect resources, which then women and children are the primary beneficiaries of, which they are. What societal duty, which is equal to that, do women have? What is it?
Women, we're going to have children. Men will never understand the burden of carrying a child.
So you have a duty to reproduce?
I expect women to be able to cook and clean.
Wait, so you have women have a duty to reproduce?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So that's
Absolutely,
the one duty that's on par. Great. So that's one duty that's on par with that. I totally agree. Are they? Or is it the case that in every single nation in the West, we are under reproductive rates in every single one of them? In every single nation in the West, we are lower than where we need to be for reproduction. So it seems that men are fulfilling their social duty and women are not. And the problem with the right is that the right doesn't ever address this, and right-wing females never address this. Instead, they say it's equal. Work and motherhood are equal. They're not equal. Not only are they not equal, but let me give you another example here. As you dive into this, try to understand that what you do is you actually hamstring women by telling women they should go and be girl boss babes and go to college starting in their 20s. They actually destroy their prime reproductive years. They destroy them by having families later. It's the primary cause.
Okay, that's silly. I'm 23.
Hang on, listen.
It's
the primary cause for the reproduction crisis. It's the primary cause of the reproduction crisis in the West, is that with women defer families till they're in their 30s. Why do you think the average age of marriage is 32 in the United States? I think it just got raised to 33. Yes, you're going to have way less kids. Okay, part of girl bossing is when you say career women are right on par with mothers. They're not, and society should be glorifying one, not socially shaming the other, but you shouldn't give them the same elevation you give to mothers and matrons of families. That is pure covert feminism.
Okay, I'm going to answer you with the following. I don't believe in the glorification, and especially I see it amongst Gen Zers, of not having children. I actually think it's disgraceful, and I don't think it's a flex at all to brag about not wanting to repopulate. It just shows me that you're so insecure that you're going to be a bad parent that you're not doing it. On the other hand, I'll ask you a question in return. Would you prefer a child growing up in a damaged family with a mother who clearly wasn't ready to raise a child and raise potentially what could be a deranged child who grows up to be a serial killer or a murderer, or how about this, just a really bad person, rather than wait a few more years until she's ready to have her kid and then raise a mensch? What do you prefer?
Well, so here's what we can see when we break this down. What we see when we break this down is the abuse happens in the public school, where you're 100 times more likely to be essayed than you are if you're in a Catholic church. We see that if it is the case that you're a single mother, you are a single mother, especially by choice, that is usually the selection of stepfather that leads to the abuse of the children. We also can see via the stats that you're completely just insane here. You are actually, if you stay inside of a family where you mom and dad don't even like each other, your outcomes are still better than if you, the girl boss, goes, I just don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel fulfilled, and so I need to go and date the neighbor down the road or whatever, right? The truth is that regardless of your fulfillment, children are the duty. The next generation is the duty, and women have a duty to keep the family intact as well. They're responsible for most of the divorces. They file for the most amount of divorces, not because of abuse, but because of irreconcilable differences. And when asked, I don't feel fulfilled. And it's like, that's not how we run a society. It's literally a death sentence for our whole society. Look at what's going on in the UK. It's a death sentence for them.
Free will is you make a choice who you want to spend your life with. Like, I know many men are okay with, a woman who works, and I know many men are not. And that's the great part, is you choose who you want to partner with. So if you want a woman to be home and have 5, 6, 7, 8 children, which is a beautiful choice to make in life, then go for it. If you want a woman who can do both, work and have children when she's ready, 2 or 3 children, then go for that type of woman. If you want a woman who's never home and going to be on the road all the time, and trust me, there are many beta men who would love that, then go for that. Like, nobody is forcing you to be with a woman that doesn't cater to your needs, the same way no one's forcing any women to be with a guy like Andrew Tate that's going to beat you and make you miserable. We have choices, and we need to make calculated, wise choices as to what personally is best for you.
The Andrew Tate fallacy, instantly moving over to Andrew Tate is evil and a representation of men who believe in a patriarchal system. Here's the truth. The truth of the matter is that we should be doing for society what is socially good for society. If we can't reproduce our society, that's a really bad social ill for society. When you have propaganda that is telling women to go get useless degrees
is for me
in
and
psychology
my husband, it's
and
not
sociology.
For society.
Yeah, that's great. Let me finish.
It's actually
Andrew,
sad.
hang on. There's Andrew, quickly. Is Megyn Kelly a covert feminist then?
Not covert, overt. She's an overt feminist. Covert's out for Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly came out and said women should be prioritizing career over family. That's what Matt Walsh's issue was with her, and he's absolutely right. The guy struck it out of the ballpark. Socially, in society, we should be moving women into a familial role. It's not to say that women can't work. Nobody's saying women can't work. We're just saying that if you're going to glorify things in society, it should be the mother in the intact home and the wife and the caretaker at home, not the girl boss. That's insane, and it's a societal death sentence. Walsh knows it. Everybody knows this at this point. If you can't reproduce your own nation, you don't have a nation.
Do you know how...
Okay, Julie, you wanted to jump in there.
I mean, do you know how insecure and pathetic you sound? You can't take you seriously.
Eat another donut, lady.
I'll just finish. I get that you reckon that you're some big shock jock, and I know that you're desperately trying to be relevant, but you sound so insecure and so pathetic. You are irrelevant.
Do you have an argument?
Very insecure.
Can you put the Duncan down for a second and give me an argument? Do you have an argument? Or is it just
Sorry,
Andrew
I haven't heard
bad?
one from you.
Yes, I've given you multiple arguments for the social fabric of all of society and how we can improve it, what we need to be doing, what we need to be moving towards. I gave you all the stats. I gave you argument after argument. Can you give me a single argument?
All the stats. You are the oracle. You know all about the universe and what's going to progress humankind. You're just a shock jock, mate.
It's not psychic ability.
You're just pathetic. Nobody's going to listen to you. You're an aggressive, insecure man.
I'm going to tell you what's going to happen.
We're not taking you seriously.
Well, this is going to go viral, and a lot of people are going to take me seriously, and all they're going to remember is that I told you that you couldn't put down the Dunkin' Donuts long enough to make an argument. Now, can you make one or not?
Oh, This is schoolboy.
By the way,
tactic.
a real
It's
man
schoolboy.
doesn't speak down to a woman the way
I don't
you
care
do.
what you think.
You're
a
not
real
a real man.
is.
You're actually
I
very
don't care
feminine
what
if
you
you
think
ask
a real
me.
man is.
You're a
Don't
very
care.
feminine man.
Yeah, nobody cares what you think real men are.
You're
You sound
pathetic,
super feminine.
mate.
Yeah.
And how
nobody cares what you think a real man is.
that you're such
I'm
a
sure your wife's
big
very happy
boy
at home.
by slating, bringing in
You're so mad.
personal
So
personal
mad.
insults about women's
You start. Hey,
I'm actually
appearance.
very
I'm
happy
sorry.
right
Wow,
now.
I'm sorry. You guys
I
think that
feel
you can
for
insult
you
people.
when
We
you
can't
go
say
out
anything
in
back.
into the big wide world from behind your macho
Well, one day when I go out in the
podcast
big
studio
wide
there.
world, I hope people will take me as seriously as they do women who make zero arguments
Wait, why are you
on
on
a show
Piers
like this.
Morgan? Shouldn't you go be working right
Why
now
are
and making
you?
money for your
Why-
family to
I
support?
am
How do you have
working.
time to
Making
I'm
a ton of
working. I
money.
don't
What
have
are you
kids.
talking about?
I don't have a husband.
You're
I'm
saying that
23
you
years
can't
old.
make
I'm not
money?
married with kids
You-
yet, but
you-
it
you
seems
can't
like
make
you should go
money
be working
podcasting?
right now to fulfill your gender role as a big, strong
I am
man.
working right now.
Oh, we'll get to work.
Well, let
That's
me
what
ask-
I do
let me
for a
ask,
living. I
You're
don't know
not
what
being
you're
paid to
talking
be
about.
here.
Yes, lady. I'm going to get paid a lot of money ultimately to be here. You have no idea what you're talking about. If you saw my bank account, what I
Okay,
make doing
sure.
stuff like this, it would
You're
make
so
you
cool.
weep. It
Oh,
would
show
make
us your
you
bank
weep.
account to make yourself feel
it
more
would make
secure.
You weep.
It has to be as extreme as you are. Like, yes,
Oh,
women
live
should
and
cook
let
and
live
clean,
until
but
it
if they're
comes
not
to the
perfect,
transgenders,
if they're not
huh?
perfect,
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's
I
crazy.
do live
Live
and
and
let
let live
live.
till
Don't
it comes
play
to
my
the
sport. I don't care if you're
transgenders.
Tensions flare when Piers plays a viral clip featuring women discussing challenges in modern marriages. Andrew Wilson seizes the moment to call out Emily Austin for her perceived hypocrisy, arguing that she embodies covert feminism by upholding traditional gender roles while simultaneously promoting women's independence.
Hey, the only thing you could think of was to try to assault my bank account, lady.
assault.
That's it. That's the only thing
are
you can
so
think of. The
liberal.
only thing you
You
can
are
think of is you don't
feminine
work
man and you are
enough. You don't
liberal.
work enough. It's
Let
ridiculous.
me play. I want to play Emily. I want to play Emily a clip. This has gone viral too. It's had 120 million views. There's a woman who suggests she's about to leave her husband because he doesn't do enough domestic chores. Let's take a look.
If you do not participate in an equitable way in your home. And so what does that look like? What does it look like to change these dynamics? Well, we need to really assess in our homes what the work looks like. Because in most homes, the data supports this, women do a disproportionate amount of the work. They just do. They do more of the cooking and the cleaning and the laundry and the childcare while also working full time. And men have more time for things like their hobbies, like golf, for example, or just working out, running a marathon, right? And so we need to have hard conversations about what our time looks like, what our labor in the home looks like, what is invisible labor. We have to talk about these things. And when we don't, the alternative is that you no longer have a marriage, or you don't have a happy one at least. And so I share this story because I don't think I'm alone in this experience. And I want people to know that there's hope and that if you have a willing and able partner, you can change this. You can absolutely change this.
I mean, Emily, I would personally, I would travel continents to avoid a lady like that. But what's your view of what she's saying?
To me, her rant, take away the gender for a moment, because I actually believe women are a lot messier than men, just in terms of our makeup, our clothing, the abundance of clothing that we have. I think we definitely purchase more accessories than men. And I think we also, like I said, there are gender roles I believe in should be responsible for most of the cleaning. Then on the other hand, if you're marrying a slob, A, you should know who you're getting into a household with. But B, if you're in a happy marriage and you have a sense of communication, why not just sit your partner down and be like, hey, I don't mind cleaning up after you, but when you throw your filthy socks on the bathroom sink or you leave your wet towel and we have mold, you know, I'd appreciate if you could not do this. But I don't think it gets to an extent where like divorce is justifiable unless your husband is like a hoarding pig that's unbearable to live with. I think she's being a little bit dramatic here. And we all can acknowledge women are a bit messier than men, and it should be just like looking after one another. It's not a big deal to clean up after your partner, and that could go both ways. Not everything is so black or white.
Andrew?
Well, first of all, stay-at-home moms are mostly nowadays parking their kids in public school for most of the day. Oftentimes, the kids are taking buses from the city to the school and buses home. They're not even driving them. Okay, not even driving them. And they have fully furnished lunch, even breakfast at most of these public schools, right? They don't even have to send them with a lunch anymore. They have all day to do household chores while men are working. right? No, women do not do a disproportionate amount of work in comparison to men. That's absurd. No labor statistic supports that. And even if we were to take household chores and put it on the table against a man's work, doesn't even come close, even with children, especially because you're parking them most of the time in a public school for most of the day. This lady who's making this TikTok, totally insane, completely disconnected from reality, has no idea how this actually works.
She's not
Okay,
totally
Julie,
insane.
your response to
You're
that.
going to make a choice to marry a girl who's going to cook and clean and do everything. And me as a woman, I'm going to make a choice to hire a housekeeper one day so that I don't have to cook and clean because that's my choice. The problem is you're too obsessed with other people's choices. Live and let live. Like, take a step back and recognize not everyone has to be as extreme as you are. Like, yes, women
live
should
and
cook
let
and
live
clean,
till
but
it
if they're
comes
not
to the
perfect,
transgenders.
if they're not perfect,
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's
I
crazy.
do
that
live
you
and
guys
let live.
till
Don't
it
play
comes
in
to
my
the
sport. I don't care if you're transgender. I don't care if you're transgender.
I don't understand.
Go for
It's
it.
live and
I'm not
let
marrying
live.
a transgender.
Let them go play their
Let
sports.
them live and let live. Absolutely.
Live and let live. You
no.
people contradict
That's
yourselves
not equality.
so much.
That's their
It's
superiority.
absurd. Yeah, it's
No,
not
I think you're
superiority.
just
What's going
stupid
on right
because I'm
now,
explaining myself and making sense.
The explanation makes no
Right, let me-
sense.
Transgenders
I saw
absolutely should live
Stacia
and let
wanting-
live. They should not participate in sports.
Let's
It's called a
Stacia-
boundary.
Let Stacia talk. Stacia, you wanted to say something.
You're just all walking contradictions. It's crazy that you can even say something like that. You guys are all fighting with each other about live and let live, and we're having an entire conversation about trans people and their ability or lack of ability to be in sports. So it's wild to watch him with the cigarette, like think he's all pompous, and you over there acting like it's just ridiculous.
Hey, I'm the only one here who is consistent. I said I don't care if you people go in and beat the tar out of women. I don't care. Go do it. They voted for it. I think they need a taste of their own medicine. I think it's good for them. And maybe some of this madness will stop if they actually have to take accountability and deal with the consequences of their own voting.
You're actually insane. You're in
Stop.
your
I want to make it very
Ju-
clear. I don't care that you're transgender. I genuinely don't care if today you're a woman, tomorrow you're a man, the next day you want to identify as a cat or a dog. I really don't. Like, it's not my issue. But when you make it my issue, when you want to play in my sport, I was a tennis player my whole life. If a man came along who identified as a woman, who I will respect as a woman, I will respect your pronouns, but you want to now eradicate women's sports, now it's my problem too.
Just
as long as
live
it's
and
not my
let
problem
live,
and
man.
you go do you, live exactly. Thank you.
Just live and let live, man. We'll just be hippies and
Okay, let me
together
ask-
until